I was heading into the mountains for a solo vacation. No distractions, no people, just the open road, nature, and a rented cabin waiting for me deep in the hills. It was supposed to be peaceful, something I'd needed for a long time. The drive started out normal. Highway traffic thinned the further I got from the city, and eventually, I was winding through long stretches of forest and empty backroads. The weather was overcast, but calm. Nothing strange. About 3 hours in, my GPS suggested a faster route. Save 57 minutes. It said. The new path cut through some backwoods area and looked like a tight loop that reconnected with the main road up ahead. I took it without thinking. Why not get there sooner? The road quickly turned narrow, with cracked pavement and low-hanging branches. After a few more minutes, the asphalt disappeared entirely, replaced by dirt and gravel. Still, the GPS insisted this was the way. I kept driving, expecting to hit another intersection or some kind of signage, but there was nothing, just trees, no houses, no fences, not even power lines. I hadn't passed another car for what felt like 30 minutes. Then I noticed something else. There were no sounds, no birds, no wind, just my tires crunching gravel and the low hum of the engine. That kind of silence doesn't feel peaceful. Feels wrong. I started feeling uneasy. Glancing at my phone, I saw that I'd lost signal completely. No bars, no GPS tracking, just that spinning, searching circle. The clock still worked. It was 5:47 p.m. I told myself I was just being paranoid. I'd get back on the main road soon, find the cabin, and laugh about how my mind wandered too much when I was alone. But the longer I drove, the more that sinking feeling in my gut grew. Then I saw it. In the rearview mirror, something moving behind me. At first, I thought it was just my eyes playing tricks on me. A shadow, maybe, a trick of the trees. But the movement was too steady, too real. Something was there, just far enough back that I couldn't make it out clearly. Tall, human-like, walking straight down the middle of the road. I slowed down, unsure why. Curiosity, fear, or maybe that sick need to know. But when I looked again, it was gone. Nothing. Just the empty road behind me, swallowed by fog I hadn't noticed before. Thick and rolling, like smoke drifting low to the ground. My hands were tight on the steering wheel now. I pressed the gas, telling myself I'd imagined it. Too much caffeine. Not enough sleep. But that didn't explain how cold the air inside the car suddenly felt. Or why every instinct in my body told me to get the hell out of there. Then the engine sputtered. The dashboard lights flickered, and I heard the unmistakable stutter of something failing deep in the car's system. I pulled over as the vehicle choked and went silent. I tried the ignition again and again. Nothing. No power. Just the stillness outside and the thickening fog pressing in around the car. I was in the middle of nowhere, no signal, no landmarks, no sounds. And I was starting to panic. That's when I saw it again. Closer this time. Standing just beyond the fog, in the tree line. Not quite hidden, but not fully visible either. Like it didn't want to be seen directly. Like it couldn't be. I couldn't make out a face. Just a shape. Still. Watching. I didn't think. I got out of the car, slammed the door and ran. Not toward the road. Not even with a plan. I just bolted into the trees, driven by pure survival instinct. I expected forest, bushes, branches, the crunch of undergrowth. But there was none of that. Just mist. Endless mist. And that silence. The woods I thought I was running into didn't feel real. It was like I passed through a curtain and stepped into something empty. That's the last thing I remember clearly. After I ran into the foggy woods, everything became a blur. The air was thick, cold, and heavy, like breathing underwater. I couldn't hear anything except my own ragged breaths and the pounding of my heart. The trees, if they were even real trees, were ghostly shapes barely visible through the haze. I tried to keep moving forward, but it felt like the ground beneath me shifted. No familiar paths, no landmarks, no sounds to guide me. Time lost meaning. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. I was completely alone, except for the feeling that something was still watching. I tried to call for help on my phone, but there was no signal. The battery was dying fast. I wasn't even sure which way was the road anymore. The fog was a thick wall around me, swallowing every sound and shadow. At some point, I stumbled and fell. My hands scraped against rough bark and cold dirt. I wanted to scream, to cry out, but my voice was gone, lost in the emptiness. I felt trapped in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Then, as suddenly as it started, the fog began to thin. When I opened my eyes, I was somewhere completely different, near a road. The kind of road that looked real. There were tire tracks in the mud, leaves scattered by the wind. But this place was miles away from where I'd lost my car. Somehow, I had traveled nearly 80 kilometers from the spot where I'd abandoned my vehicle. How or why, I have no explanation. When they found me, exhausted, disoriented, and barely able to explain what happened, I was nearly 80 kilometers away from the place where I'd left the car. No one could explain how I got there. I couldn't remember most of what had happened in between. The search party said I was lucky to be alive. But I didn't feel lucky. I felt broken. My clothes were torn, my shoes muddy, and my skin pale from exposure. My mind was racing with questions no one could answer. I didn't talk about the figure I saw behind me. Not to the cops. Not to my friends. I was afraid they'd think I was losing my mind. But the fear stayed with me, lingering in every shadow, in every quiet moment. The whole experience changed me. I stopped trusting GPS or shortcuts. I avoided back roads and places that felt too quiet. And most of all, I learned that sometimes there are places on the map you're not supposed to find, roads that don't really exist. I never talked much about what happened on that road. I didn't want to sound crazy or paranoid. But now, looking back, I realize how important it is to share my story. Sometimes the most peaceful places hide the darkest secrets. And sometimes the maps we trust lead us to places that don't really exist. If you ever find yourself driving down a road that feels wrong, too quiet, too empty, or with no signs of life, trust your instincts. Don't ignore the little signs. And if your car suddenly dies or you feel like you're being watched, get out safely, stay calm, and try to find help. I survived, but I'm still haunted by what I saw and what I don't remember. If this story can help even one person avoid what I went through, then it's worth telling. Stay safe out there.